Admiral William Carter stood alone at the large window of Earth's diplomatic station. His gray eyes followed the Zrathi ships as they moved away, their silver hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars. 6 months of talks had just ended in failure. 6 months of hope now gone. Carter's weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands were tight fists at his sides. The aliens had offered humans terms that no free people could ever accept. "They're really leaving," said Lisa Frost as she walked up beside him. The diplomatic officer's red hair was pulled back in a neat bun, but a few strands had escaped, showing how stressful the day had been. "I still can't believe what they asked of us." Carter nodded slowly. "Restricted space travel. Limited growth. Technology we can't develop. Alien officers watching our military." He turned to face her. They didn't want partners. They wanted pets. Around them, the diplomatic station hummed with quiet activity. Humans in blue uniforms moved from screen to screen, tracking the departing alien fleet. No one spoke loudly. The mood was heavy with what everyone knew was coming next. "The galactic hegemony has existed for 2,000 years, Lisa said, looking at the data on her small tablet. 17 different alien species, all working together. They've forgotten what it's like to be the newcomers. They've forgotten what it's like to fight for your place," Carter added. His voice was calm but firm. Humanity didn't reach the stars by asking for permission. On the main screen, they watched as the lead Zrathi ship activated its faster-than-light drive. A flash of blue light, and it was gone. One by one, the other ships followed, until the last one disappeared. "How long until the news reaches Earth?" Carter asked. "It's already going out, sir," answered Sam Miller, the communications officer. His young face looked worried as he worked at his station. "First reports are appearing on global networks. People are scared." Carter wasn't surprised. For years, humans had hoped to join the hegemony as equals. The aliens had advanced technology, controlled hundreds of worlds, and offered the promise of a bright future among the stars. Now that dream was over. What will the hegemony do next? Lisa asked quietly, so only Carter could hear. "They gave us their answer. Accept their terms or face being cut off. Maybe worse." Carter's eyes narrowed. "They think we'll get scared and come crawling back." The station commander, Frank Powell, approached them with a secure comm unit. "Sir, the president is asking to speak with you." Carter took the device and nodded. "I'll take it in the private room." Before he left, Lisa caught his arm. "Will we go back to the table? Try again with different terms." Carter looked at her, then at the empty space where the alien ships had been. "The time for talking is over, Lisa. They don't respect us enough to hear what we say." His voice dropped lower. "But they will." In the small conference room, Carter activated the secure line. The tired face of President Gregory Wells appeared on screen. "I've seen the reports, Admiral," the president said. "The terms were worse than we expected." "Yes, sir. The hegemony isn't interested in equals. They want subjects." The president was silent for a moment, his eyes showing the weight of what came next. "And our response?" Carter didn't hesitate. "It's time for Protocol Omega, sir." The president closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, his decision was made. "Proceed, Admiral." "Full authorization." "Yes, sir." Carter ended the call and stood still for a moment in the quiet room. Humanity had hoped for peace, prepared for war, but would now deliver something else entirely, a lesson the galaxy would never forget. He walked back to the command center with steady steps. The room fell silent as he entered. "Send the coded message to all Earth forces," he ordered. 2 words only: Omega Protocol. Across the room, eyes widened as the message was sent. Everyone knew what it meant. Not war, not surrender. Something much worse. The quiet response that would terrify the galaxy. For 3 weeks, the galaxy held its breath. Everyone waited for the humans to do something. To protest, to threaten, to beg. But the response from Earth was silence. Complete silence. Human ships quietly returned to their own space. Military vessels stayed on normal patrol routes. Trade ships came and went as usual, though fewer in number. No angry messages were sent. No demands were made. The diplomatic channels remained open but unused. In the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Hegemony, 17 alien leaders gathered around a massive table. The room was filled with soft blue light that came from nowhere and everywhere. On screens around them played images from human space, all showing normal, everyday activity. "The humans accept defeat," said High Speaker Torvik of the Zrathi. His scaled skin glittered as he moved, 4 arms gesturing at the screens. "They know they cannot stand against the hegemony. They will return to us when they are ready to accept our terms." Many council members nodded in agreement. The humans were newcomers to space travel. They had only reached the stars a century ago, while the hegemony had ruled for 2,000 years. Of course, humans would submit. They had no choice. Only one voice disagreed. "You do not understand humans," said Elder Crit of the Volari. Unlike the other aliens, Elder Crit was small and gray, with large eyes that rarely blinked. The Volari were the oldest species in the hegemony, and they alone had studied human history deeply. "This silence is not surrender," Elder Crit continued. "When humans go quiet, they are planning. When they stop talking, they start acting." High Speaker Torvik made a dismissive gesture. "We watch their every move. Our sensors monitor their space. Their communications are open to us. They are doing nothing. Nothing that we can see," Elder Crit said softly. But the warning was ignored. Far away from the council chamber, deep under the mountains on Earth, President Gregory Wells walked into a room few humans knew existed. The facility was buried beneath layers of rock and metal shields. No signal could get in or out unless allowed. Around a simple table sat 12 people, the leaders of Earth's response team. Their faces were tired but determined. On screens around them, complex plans unfolded. Director Emma Sullivan stood as the president entered. She was a small woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. President, we're ready for your final approval." "How many are in position?" the president asked. "All 5,000 units are deployed," she answered. "They've been moving into place for 15 years, ever since we first learned the hegemony's true plans for Earth." The president looked around the room at the faces of his team. "And there's no other way." Colonel Peter Dunn, head of military operations, spoke up. "Sir, we tried diplomacy. The hegemony doesn't respect us. They see our willingness to talk as weakness. They want us as servants, not partners." Dr. Alan Wright, chief scientist, added, "The technology works perfectly. The demonstration unit is ready." President Wells walked to the table and picked up the small device waiting there, a simple black cube that fit in his palm. It looked harmless, almost like a toy. Hard to believe it represented humanity's greatest achievement and most terrible weapon. "The hegemony thinks we're primitive," he said, turning the cube in his hand. "They judge us by the technology we've shown them, never guessing what we've kept hidden." He placed the cube back on the table and took the digital pen offered to him. On the screen before him was the final authorization form. With a steady hand, he signed his name. Director Sullivan nodded once. "Countdown begins now. 72 hours until activation." As the president left, the team began their final preparations. In 3 days, the galaxy would learn that humanity's silence wasn't surrender. It was the calm before a storm no one saw coming. Outside in the normal world, humans went about their daily lives. Many were worried about the failed peace talks. Some feared what the aliens might do next. None knew what their leaders had planned. Across the stars, the hegemony continued to watch human space, seeing nothing unusual, suspecting nothing. The quiet stretched on. For now, the message arrived everywhere at once. On the Zrathi homeworld, it appeared on every screen in the capital city. In the Volari colonies, it interrupted morning prayers. On space stations and ships and distant outposts, The same human face appeared before startled alien eyes. Admiral Jane Rivers of the United Earth Navy looked directly into the camera. She wore a simple blue uniform with few decorations. Her brown hair was cut short, and her expression was calm. Not angry, not threatening, just serious. "This is an official message from humanity to all members of the galactic hegemony," she began. In the council chamber, the 17 leaders watched in shock. They had not approved this broadcast. They had not even known it was possible to override all their communication systems at once. 3 days ago, we activated Protocol Omega. Admiral Rivers continued. This is not a declaration of war. This is an announcement of fact. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. 5,000 quantum-shielded devices have been placed throughout hegemony space. We call them black boxes. Each contains a self-sustaining singularity capable of consuming a planet. On thousands of worlds, billions of aliens felt a cold fear grow inside them. A singularity was a black hole, a tear in space that devoured everything it touched. The idea that humans could create such things, control them, and hide them across the galaxy was impossible. It had to be a lie. But Admiral Rivers was still speaking. These devices were deployed over the past 15 years through regular trade routes, diplomatic missions, and exploration vessels. They are undetectable to hegemony scanners because they use technology you have not yet discovered. On the Volari homeworld, Elder Crit received a small package that had not been there moments before. Inside was a black cube, just big enough to fit in a hand. A note in perfect Volari script said, "Proof of our words. Handle with care." We have provided evidence of one such device to the Volari Elder Council, Admiral Rivers said, as if she could see what was happening across the galaxy. They can confirm its authenticity. The message showed a map of the hegemony, with thousands of small dots marking the locations of the black boxes. The dots were everywhere. On major worlds, space stations, asteroid mining facilities, and military bases. A demonstration will occur in exactly 12 hours at the coordinates attached to this message. The location is an uninhabited system with a small moon. No life forms will be harmed. The broadcast continued, explaining how the boxes worked and what they could do. The technical details were simple enough for most to understand, complex enough to prove the humans were not bluffing. Humanity will accept nothing less than full equal partnership in galactic affairs, Admiral Rivers stated firmly. Not as servants, not as junior members, as equals. Her eyes seemed to look directly at each viewer. We have lived in peace for most of our history. We have fought wars only when necessary. We developed these weapons not because we wanted to, but because we learned long ago that the hegemony planned to slowly take control of Earth rather than welcome us as partners. She leaned forward slightly. We prefer peaceful solutions. The black boxes have remote deactivation systems. They can be turned off as easily as they were turned on. But know this, we will not be ruled. We will not be controlled. We ask only for respect and equality. The message ended with a simple statement. We await your response. Then screens across the galaxy returned to normal, leaving shocked silence in homes, ships, and government halls. In a small observation post near the demonstration coordinates, Captain Daniel Cruz prepared his instruments. In 12 hours, the galaxy would see that humans did not make empty threats. Until then, Earth waited, and the hegemony began to understand the full meaning of fear. 12 hours passed like years for the watching galaxy. In that time, the Hegemony Council tried everything. Their best scientists examined the black box delivered to the Volari. Their military leaders made plans, then threw them away. Their diplomats sent desperate messages to Earth, alternating between threats and pleas. Earth responded to none of them. As the time approached, ships from every species in the hegemony gathered at safe distances from the target coordinates. They pointed every sensor and camera they had at the small, uninhabited moon that orbited an empty planet in an unremarkable system. The moon was nothing special, just rock and dust, about 1/4 the size of Earth's moon. No one would miss it, which was exactly why the humans had chosen it. On his observation post, Captain Daniel Cruz counted down the final minute. He was the only human in the system. His small station floated in space, just close enough to see but far enough to be safe. Around him, his crew of 5 worked quietly at their stations. 30 seconds, he said. On his main screen, he could see the alien ships watching from a distance. They had come in such numbers that their engines created a small light show against the blackness of space. The entire galaxy was holding its breath. 10 seconds. He pressed the activation button. Nothing seemed to happen at first. The moon continued to orbit as it had for billions of years. Then a small dark spot appeared on its surface. It wasn't an explosion or a flash of light. It was the opposite. A perfect circle of absolute darkness that grew slowly larger. Black box activated, reported Lieutenant Samantha Gray from her station. Singularity forming exactly as calculated. The dark spot expanded, now covering nearly 1/4 of the moon's visible side. The edges of the moon began to bend inward, as if being pulled into the blackness. It wasn't violent. It was almost gentle, like water flowing down a drain. "Gravity readings are off the scale," said another officer. "The singularity is stable and controlled." In less than 2 minutes, half the moon was gone, consumed by the growing darkness. Rocks and dust spiraled into the black hole in a beautiful, terrible dance. Captain Cruz watched the sensor readings carefully. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. 3 minutes after activation, the entire moon was gone. Where it had been, a perfect sphere of darkness hung in space, surrounded by a faint ring of light as the last particles of dust circled the event horizon. "Singularity has reached planned size," Lieutenant Gray reported. "Beginning containment and dissolution sequence." Captain Cruz nodded and pressed the second button. The blackness began to shrink, slowly at first, then faster, growing smaller and smaller until it was just a dot in space. Then, with a brief flash of blue light, it disappeared completely. Nothing remained of the moon. Not a single rock, not a speck of dust. Just empty space where a celestial body had existed for billions of years. Captain Cruz opened a channel to the watching alien ships. "Demonstration complete. The singularity has been fully contained and dissolved. Scans will confirm no radiation or spatial damage remains." His words were calm, professional. This was not a threat. It was simply information. Immediately, his communication system lit up with incoming messages from the hegemony ships. Some demanded explanations. Others begged for mercy. Many simply asked, how? How had humans developed technology that could create, control, and safely dissolve a black hole? It was beyond anything the hegemony possessed. It should have been impossible for such a young species. Captain Cruz answered none of their questions. He had not been authorized to say more. Instead, he sent a single message to Earth. "Demonstration successful. Awaiting further instructions." Then he waited as the alien ships frantically scanned the empty space where the moon had been, confirming what they had seen with their own eyes. The humans had not been bluffing. They had placed 5,000 of these devices throughout hegemony space, and now the entire galaxy knew what they could do. In the Hegemony Council chamber, panic had replaced arrogance. "We must destroy them before they destroy us," shouted the Zrathi High Speaker. "You saw what they can do." Elder Crit replied quietly, "Perhaps we should listen to what they want." For the first time in 2,000 years, the mighty hegemony was afraid. The next 3 days brought chaos to the galactic hegemony. Across thousands of worlds, people searched for the human black boxes. Fear spread faster than news. Markets crashed. Some planets began emergency evacuations. Others closed their borders. In secret laboratories, the brightest minds in the hegemony studied the black box given to the Volari. They took it apart carefully, piece by piece, trying to understand how it worked. What they found shocked them. "It's impossible," said Chief Scientist Merrick's of the Poloni. the hegemony's most advanced technological species. His 6 eyes blinked rapidly in distress as he addressed the council. The humans have developed technology along paths we never explored. Their approach to quantum mechanics is entirely different from ours. Can we neutralize these devices? Asked the Zrathi High Speaker, his scaled skin pale with worry. No, Merrick's admitted. We cannot even detect them without knowing exactly where to look. And if we try to disarm one incorrectly, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Even more disturbing news followed. Search teams had found 3 black boxes exactly where the humans said they would be. One on the hegemony's largest space station, one in the Zrathi Royal Palace, and one in the main military command center. How did they place them there without anyone noticing? Demanded the military leader of the Krekti, a species known for their strict security. The humans have been hiding their true capabilities, Elder Crit said. For years, they have shown us only what they wanted us to see. On Earth, Director Emma Sullivan briefed the United Nations Security Council in their underground chamber. The room was filled with the most powerful people on the planet, all watching her with intense focus. The hegemony's response is exactly as we predicted, she said, showing images of the alien panic on the large screen. They verify our technology is real. They've found enough black boxes to believe we have thousands more. And most importantly, they're listening now. How long have we really had this technology? Asked the representative from Africa, a tall woman with braided hair. Sullivan smiled slightly. That's the beautiful part. We've had the theoretical ability to create microsingularities for about 20 years, but we've only built 6 working devices. A murmur went through the room. 6, repeated the European representative in disbelief. But you told the hegemony we had 5,000. We lied, Sullivan said simply. We placed the 3 they found so far. We used one for the demonstration. The Volari have one for examination. And we have one here on Earth as backup. What if they call our bluff? Asked someone from the back of the room. President Wells stood up. They won't. The technology is real. The threat is real. The only lie is the number. He looked around the room. And that's the revelation they'll never discover, that humans achieved with 6 devices what they believed would require 5,000. Sullivan nodded. We studied the hegemony for decades. We learned how they think. They judge power by numbers, fleets, weapons, territory. We knew they would believe we had thousands of devices because that's how they would do it. On her screen, a new message appeared. She read it quickly and turned to the president. Sir, the Hegemony Council is requesting to reopen negotiations. They're offering full equal partnership status. In the council chamber across the galaxy, 17 alien leaders argued bitterly among themselves. The humans tricked us, shouted the Zrathi High Speaker. No, corrected Elder Crit. We tricked ourselves. We saw what we expected to see, a primitive species trying to join our community. We never considered they might be testing us instead. A message from the human leadership appeared on the main screen. We accept your invitation to negotiate as equals. The Marodi representative, normally the most militaristic of the council, spoke the thought that was on everyone's mind. They'd been 10 steps ahead all along. While we thought we were evaluating them for membership, they were evaluating us. Elder Crit nodded slowly. And we failed their test. The council chamber grew quiet as this truth sank in. The humans hadn't needed to destroy anything to change the balance of power in the galaxy. They had only needed to show that they could. And that was perhaps the most terrifying revelation of all. The great council chamber of the hegemony had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 17 alien species filled the room, along with military leaders, scientists, and advisors. The normal order and calm of council meetings was gone, replaced by loud arguments and frightened whispers. Silence, shouted the chief moderator, striking his staff 3 times on the floor. The room gradually quieted. We must decide our response to the humans before their ambassador arrives. In a corner of the chamber, sitting quietly on a simple chair, was Ambassador Kevin Reeves. The human had been waiting for over 2 hours, watching the aliens argue among themselves. His plain black suit made him look small compared to the colorful robes and elaborate armor of the alien leaders. But no one in the room doubted his power anymore. "How did we not detect these devices?" demanded the Zrathi High Speaker, his 4 arms moving in angry gestures. "Our technology should have found them." "Because we believed our technology superior," replied Elder Crit of the Volari. His ancient voice was calm despite the chaos around him. "We were blind to the possibility that humans had developed along entirely different technological paths than our own. They have placed world-killing weapons throughout our territory," shouted the military leader of the Krekti, pounding his armored fist on the table. "This is an act of war. If they wanted war, they could have activated the devices already," said the Poloni representative reasonably. "They want something else." Finally, after much debate, they turned to the human ambassador. The room fell silent as Kevin Reeves walked to the center of the chamber. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes that didn't match the power he now wielded. "Ambassador Reeves," said the chief moderator, "the council has many questions for you." The ambassador nodded. "I understand, and I will answer honestly." "Why has Earth done this?" asked the Zrathi High Speaker directly. "Why threaten us with destruction?" Ambassador Reeves looked around the room before answering. "Humanity does not wish to rule, threaten, or dominate. We developed the black boxes as a contingency only after discovering the hegemony's original plans." "What plans?" asked several voices at once. 20 years ago, one of your ships crashed on Earth. In its database, we found detailed plans to gradually absorb Earth as a protectorate rather than accept us as an equal member." His voice was matter-of-fact, without anger. "You plan to study us, use us, and eventually control us." The room erupted in denials and accusations. Some council members looked guilty. Others looked surprised, suggesting not all had known of these plans. When order was restored, the ambassador continued. "We had 2 choices: walk away from the galactic community or find a way to ensure our independence. We chose the latter." "By threatening us with destruction?" asked the Poloni representative. "By ensuring you would take us seriously," Reeves corrected, "which you did not before." He walked to a display unit and activated a small device from his pocket. A hologram appeared, showing the design of the black box. "We seek partnership, not dominance," he said as the alien studied the image. "The boxes have a 3-person disarmament protocol requiring 1 human and 2 different hegemony species to deactivate. This ensures no single group, including humans, can use them unilaterally." The design confirmed what he said. The deactivation system required 3 different genetic signatures, 1 human and 2 different alien species. "We propose a joint disarmament commission," the ambassador continued. "Each box will be deactivated by this 3-species protocol. In exchange, we ask for a new treaty that recognizes Earth as a full and equal partner in the hegemony." Elder Crit spoke into the silence that followed. The humans could have demanded much more. They could have asked for special privileges, for technology, for territories. Yet they ask only for equality. The Zrathi High Speaker still looked suspicious. "And if we refuse?" Ambassador Reeves smiled slightly. "Then the boxes remain in place, and we continue as we are, with humanity outside your community, but holding a powerful safeguard against aggression." The choice was clear. The hegemony could fight against an enemy they couldn't detect, using weapons that might not work against human technology, or they could accept a reasonable offer of partnership. One by one, the council members indicated their decision. The reconsideration of humanity's place in the galaxy had begun. 1 year later, Admiral William Carter and Diplomatic Officer Lisa Frost stood in the newly built Human Hegemony Joint Council chamber. The room was a perfect circle, with 18 equal seats arranged around a central table. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, lighting up the space with natural warmth. "Did you ever think we'd get here?" Lisa asked quietly, watching representatives from all 18 species, humanity now included, taking their positions in the chamber. Carter shook his head slightly. I hoped, but I wasn't certain. The past year had been busy. Teams of humans, Volari, and Drathi had worked together to find and deactivate the black boxes. Each deactivation required 3 different beings to work together, 1 human and 2 different aliens. At first, the process had been tense, with each side watching the others carefully. But something unexpected had happened along the way. Have you noticed how well the teams get along now? Lisa said, nodding toward a mixed group entering the chamber. A human woman was laughing at something a Krekti warrior had said, while a Poloni scientist gestured with multiple arms, adding to the joke. That's the real victory, Carter agreed. They've discovered they like working together. The joint operations had revealed something the hegemony hadn't expected. Humans were remarkably good at working with other species. They adapted quickly to alien thought patterns and communication styles. They found creative solutions to problems that had stumped hegemony scientists for years. And most surprisingly, they seemed genuinely interested in learning about alien cultures. President Gregory Wells entered the chamber to open the first Equal Council session. The room quieted as he took the central position. 1 year ago, he began, we stood at the edge of conflict. Today, we stand at the beginning of true partnership. He looked around at the gathered representatives. The irony is that the quality the hegemony feared most about humanity, our unpredictability, is precisely what makes us valuable partners. We don't think like you, and that difference offers new solutions to old problems. Many of the alien representatives nodded in agreement. In just 1 year, joint human-alien research teams had made breakthrough discoveries in medicine, energy, and space travel. Elder Crit, now the hegemony's appointed liaison to Earth, addressed the chamber after Wells finished speaking. We fear humans because we did not understand them, the ancient Volari said. We saw their adaptability as chaotic, their individualism as dangerous, their creativity as unpredictable. Today we recognize these qualities as strengths that complement our own. The ratification of the new treaty was unanimous, a historic moment marking humanity's full acceptance into the galactic community as equals. Later, in a quiet garden outside the chamber, Elder Crit found Director Emma Sullivan enjoying a moment of peace. I have a question that has troubled the hegemony for a year, the Volari said, sitting beside her on a bench. Would you really have activated the black boxes if we had refused your terms? Sullivan smiled. The most terrifying weapon is one you never have to use. The boxes served their purpose by existing, not by being activated. And if we had called your bluff about having thousands of them? Sullivan's smile faded. Elder Crit, humanity's history is filled with examples of what we're capable of when threatened. The black boxes were our most restrained option. The elder was silent for a moment, considering her words. That is why your response terrified the galaxy, Crit finally said. Not because of what you did, but because of what you chose not to do. Any species that can create such weapons but chooses to use them only as leverage for peace is either supremely wise or supremely dangerous. Perhaps a bit of both, Sullivan admitted. As they watched the sunset together, ships from 18 different worlds moved peacefully through the sky above them. Each one carried beings who now understood something important about the universe. True strength isn't shown by what you destroy, but by what you choose to preserve. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not as conquerors, but as equals who would not be conquered. And that had made all the difference.